my YouTube channel, The Royal Sharni. What's up? How have you guys been? I know I haven't been active, but anyways, that is not the point. Let's jump into today's case. So today's case is on Jiah Khan. Jiah was an Indian actress and she died at the age of 25. Now this case is really mind-boggling. I still cannot wrap my head around the case, so I don't really know how you guys are going to be able to. Anyways, let's get into the topic. So Jiah actually was ruled off as suicide. Now, I'm usually skeptical in these areas, but from what I can see from the research that I've conducted, I think it might have been suicide, but it could also potentially be murder. Though there is a lot of evidence that points it to being murder, I'm not so sure it is. So prior to Jiah actually having committed suicide, she was having hourly conversations with her sister, Kavita. Kavita was supposed to be flying in to, I think, New York. I don't exactly remember, but I think that's where she was flying in to meet her sister. And her mother had gone out to dinner, but she was also having a nice conversation with her mom over text, and she even had a phone conversation with her mother. So I don't know what led her to committing suicide. I know that in one of the articles that I was reading, it did mention that her boyfriend at the time, Suraj Pancholi, he actually had paid Jiah a visit just before her death. And apparently it was to say sorry about something. So why would Jiah end up killing herself? Now, I know that she was struggling as an actress because she wasn't getting into movies and all that. She wasn't really getting the roles that she deserved or whatsoever. But I don't know why she would go and commit suicide. See, the reason that I believed it's a potential murder is because in one of the autopsy reports, it did mention that Jiah had struggled and that she was killed before she was hung. So there's a 50% chance that it was murder. However, there's also a lot of evidence that shows that it was suicide because she left a suicide note. And a suicide note was 6 pages long. That's why it kind of threw me off guard, which I was like, why would you leave a 6-page suicide note? And when did she write it? Because there literally was no date on the paper. Jiah's mother actually believes that Suraj is responsible for the death of Jiah's because Jiah and Suraj had a very toxic and complicated relationship. And from a lot of the videos and interviews that Suraj has done, he has mentioned that they never dated past like 6 to 9 months and they barely knew each other, and that he had no hand in her murder, and that Jiah's mother needs to stop putting these allegations on him and his family. Suraj was even taken into custody to be questioned about whether or not he had anything to do with Jiah's murder, and unfortunately they didn't find anything, so he's in the clear. What I found really interesting when reading a lot of the articles and stuff was that in one of the articles it was mentioned that Jiah's mother had spoken to a cop that was present at the crime scene the day of Jiah's death. He had mentioned that it's possible that Jiah was murdered. But the very next day, the cop switched up on his wordings. Why was that? And when Jiah's mother asked to be interviewed, the CBI and the police were supposed to show up for these interviews because she had requested that they do. They did not show up. The other thing is that there was incorrect information that was handed out to the public so that the case would just automatically be shut and Jiah would be ruled as suicide. So that's why there's a potential chance that it was not suicide and it was murder. However, I do not think that Suraj is behind any of this. Yes, he came to visit Jiah. He dropped off flowers and a note and apologized. But why would Suraj even do it? Like he mentioned in a lot of his interviews, that people are constantly blaming him, bringing his reputation down, and that all he wants is for her to find peace, then why would he even have any motive to go after her? Obviously, when people end up trying to harm somebody, they always have a motive. And in this case, I don't see Suraj having any motive. Yeah, they were in a toxic relationship and they had countless arguments, but that does not mean that Suraj could have killed Jiah. I mean, it's possible that it could have also just been somebody who was keeping a close eye on Jiah that ended up getting into the house and murdering her and then making it seem like suicide. But the one thing I found really suspicious was that Jiah's mother mentioned that her and her family were still getting death threats for speaking up against the matter of her daughter having been murdered and not having committed suicide. So this person does not want them finding out about the truth of whether or not she commits suicide or was she murdered. I mean, it's possible that it could have been anybody. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily Suraj just because he was her boyfriend or they were in a toxic relationship. He literally went there to give her the best of wishes and everything in life. I think that they were ending their relationship or something like that maybe. That doesn't mean that just because they had a fight the same night, he was the one behind her murder. Yes, Jiah did mention in her letter that Suraj is at fault for everything and like he led her to depression and gave her anxiety and also made her get an abortion. But those were things of the past. And even though she was struggling with it, she was still finding ways to overcome all that stuff. And both of them were trying to overcome things in their relationship. They were young and they made dumb mistakes in their relationship. And who doesn't? I mean, anyone makes dumb decisions, especially when it comes to love. And I won't say that I haven't because I have. But Suraj did not have any motive to go after her, from what I can see, from all the articles that I've read and the interviews that I've watched. There is a potential chance that it could have been somebody from within the family of Jiah's that could have also killed her. There's also the chance that it could have been a fan. There's plenty of different assumptions that can be made about this case. Because although it ties back to Suraj, considering that he was her boyfriend, there's still many different outcomes of this case. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace out.